Here. Good. Welcome to the Genius Talk podcast. I'm your host Atul Raj from the bestemailmarketer.com, and today we have Angela Fowler with us. Angela, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so for our listeners who don't know you, can you tell them who you are and what do you do?
I am an accessibility strategist, which means that I help companies figure out how to make their products and services work optimally for people with disabilities, which in turn improves the user experience for everybody. So let me explain what that means, because a lot of times I say that and people are like, huh? I'm totally blind, have been all my life.
Uh-huh.
And I navigate a computer using a keyboard and a screen reader, which quite literally reads what's on the screen to me. So I
Uh-huh.
don't use a mouse. I can't use a mouse.
Okay.
Can't see where the mouse is going. So in order for a website to be accessible to me,
Uh-huh.
a number of things need to be done correctly, primarily of which things need to be keyboard accessible, so they cannot require a mouse. You need to be able to move to them and interact with them using a keyboard.
Uh-huh.
And also things need to be labeled, and those labels need to be associated with the things that they are labeling.
Uh-huh.
So for instance, if you can click on the label of an edit box and your cursor goes into the edit box, that's what you want. So these accessibility improvements, and there's a lot more to it. Those are two really high impact ones that a lot of people understand. They help everybody. There are a lot of sighted people that use the keyboard as well, either because they have a disability that makes it hard for them to use a mouse, or they just choose to. The labeling thing, not everybody can guess. Not everybody speaks icon.
Uh-huh.
Not everybody knows what icons mean. And if your labels are placed adjacent to the form but not associated with it, or the link or the button, whatever the thing is, not everybody can necessarily grasp what that label is. What are you labeling? It, because it's obvious to you, doesn't mean it's obvious to everybody else. So when you make your products accessible, you see increased use, increased customer retention. It's good for you. It's good for your bottom line. So it really is a business imperative. Everybody talks about the legal imperative. It's actually, when you really get into the data, it's actually a business imperative.
Uh-huh.
So I help companies do that through my coaching and consulting and a number of different services that I offer through Real Life Access.
Okay. So who are your ideal clients? What type of companies do you help?
I mean, I help everybody, obviously, but ideally,
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at 10 to 100 employees, $1 to $10 million annual revenue, small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses. I like to say businesses that are big enough to pay and still small enough to listen.
Yeah,
And
that's
this doesn't mean that I don't have entry-level offers for solopreneurs, because I do.
okay. So, what's the most common barrier that prevents company from serving people with disabilities?
There's a number of things.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is just old habits dying hard. People are used to doing things a certain way, and it's hard to change. If you've ever changed your morning routine, right, it messes you up, right? You're not right the rest of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Another part of it is that accessible development, be it website development, app development, is not taught by default. So if you take a course in development, odds are they won't teach you how to do so accessibly. So that trickles into a lot of the companies, the software development companies, right? The overwhelming majority of third-party companies, third-party tools that you purchase
Mm-hmm.
are not going to be accessible, or not fully accessible. They might be usable with a little grit and determination, but not accessible. So, and a lot of times people think accessibility is too difficult or too expensive, but I take a harm reduction approach, which is to say, I'll look at what you've got and say, okay, what can we do now that produces the biggest impact with the least amount of expense and effort? Or a combination of both, right? Maybe some high impact, high effort wins and a few high impact, low effort wins. But I want to get easy wins for you immediately,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can worry about the rest of it.
Like, how do you help clients recognize the 2.5 trillion opportunity you mentioned on your website?
Right. So that number includes everybody with disabilities. If you look at US government statistics, I don't know how the statistics are done in other countries, but the US, they only count people between the ages of 18 and 64. Which is silly, right? Because among, seniors generally speaking have, collectively more buying power, and the rates of disability are higher. And the rates of technology frustration intolerance tend to be higher, right? So it's, your seniors generally speaking really like an accessible, intuitive interface. So we're looking at everybody with disabilities.
What accomplishment in your accessibility journey are you most proud of?
This was actually before I started Real Life Access. I was working with the Department of Veterans Affairs for one of their contractors,
Uh-huh.
and I was able to teach their designers and developers how to make accessible products. And not only how to, but the real human impact of accessibility, right? Because everybody says, oh, you need to be accessible. In the United States, we have the ADA. I think you have a similar law. Many other countries do. But until people truly understand the impact of accessibility, they're not gonna they're not going to invest wholeheartedly in it, because it's something the government's making them do, and they don't truly understand why. But once you show them the real impact of accessibility, light bulbs go on. That's why I'm doing this.
Hey, can you share an example where implementing accessibility lead to measurable business growth or transformation?
Well, it does. Let's take a look at websites, for example. I was just looking at some stats the other day. If you make your website accessible, you're going to have, and on average, this is an average, 15% higher conversion, and then 20% more traffic. So yeah, there is a measurable correlation between accessibility and revenue. It's easy if you just, ask Perplexity, if I make my business accessible and am I gonna make more money? It'll come up with the statistics. And don't think that just because a business isn't doesn't necessarily cater to disabled people, it doesn't need to be made accessible, because it does. I love to use it as an example. The Christmas gift I bought for my mom last year, it's something that I would never buy for myself, right? Because I can't use it. It's one of those picture frames where you can actually remotely change what picture is displayed, and you can have it alternate so it shows a different picture every few seconds. I would never with something like that, right? I can't see that. But my mom loves her pictures. She loves to decorate. She loves to make things, visually, look nice. So, I heard that advertised on some podcast or other, and of course, me being me, I'd put my Christmas shopping off until, so, oh, perfect Christmas gift for mom. And luckily the purchasing and the purchasing and checkout workflow was, it used Apple Pay, so it was pretty straightforward to do. I want to be part of the solution. I'm so often frustrated myself by inaccessible software. And I know the business is being hurt by this, and I want to be part of the solution. I want to be part of solving a problem that I and so many other blind people experience. I don't want to just complain about the problem. That doesn't do anybody any good. Well, you can go to www.reallifeaccess.com. You can email me at angela@reallifeaccess.com. And my website has all my socials, my YouTube, LinkedIn, all that fun stuff. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Absolutely.